What if reclaiming your peace started with a single word? No. In Set Boundaries, Find Peace. A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself, Nedra Glover Tawwab offers a transformative approach to creating healthy boundaries that protect our time, energy, and emotional well-being. This is the story of how I learned to set boundaries, honor my needs, and find the peace I had been searching for. Tawwab begins by explaining what boundaries are and why they are essential. Boundaries, she writes, are guidelines that help us define what is acceptable and unacceptable in our relationships. They are not about controlling others, but about protecting our own emotional and physical well-being. I realized how often I had neglected my own boundaries, prioritizing others' needs over my own. Tawwab's insight helped me see that boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary acts of self-care. Recognizing this was the first step in reclaiming my peace. This chapter taught me that boundaries are the foundation of healthy relationships. By understanding their purpose, I could begin to implement them with confidence and clarity. Tawwab highlights the telltale signs of weak or non-existent boundaries, such as chronic burnout, resentment, and difficulty saying no. She encourages readers to view these signs as signals that change is needed. I recognize myself in many of the examples Tawwab shared. From overcommitting at work to feeling drained by one-sided friendships, I saw how my lack of boundaries was impacting my life. This realization was a wake-up call to take action. This chapter reminded me that discomfort is a signal. By paying attention to these signs, I could identify where boundaries were needed and start making changes. Tawwab identifies 6 types of boundaries: physical, emotional, time, material, intellectual, and sexual. She explains that each type plays a role in maintaining balance and well-being. I began evaluating my boundaries in each area. For instance, I noticed that my time boundaries were often violated because I struggled to say no to requests. Tawwab's suggestion to create clear, specific limits helped me start protecting my schedule and energy. This chapter taught me that boundaries are multifaceted. By addressing each type, I could create a more holistic sense of balance in my life. Setting boundaries, Tawwab explains, requires clear and direct communication. She provides scripts and strategies for expressing boundaries in a way that is respectful but firm. I practiced communicating boundaries in low-stakes situations, such as declining social invitations or requesting uninterrupted work time. Using Tawwab's templates, I found it easier to express my needs without guilt. For example, I said, "I appreciate the invitation, but I need to rest this weekend." This approach felt empowering and respectful. This chapter reminded me that communication is key. By expressing boundaries clearly, I could create understanding and build healthier relationships. Tawwab acknowledges that setting boundaries often leads to pushback from others. She encourages readers to stay firm, reminding us that pushback is a natural part of the process, not a sign of failure. When I encountered resistance, such as a friend questioning my decision to say no, I stayed calm and reiterated my boundary. Tawwab's advice to remain consistent helped me navigate these moments with confidence. Over time, I noticed that people began respecting my limits more readily. This chapter taught me that pushback is an opportunity to reinforce boundaries. By standing firm, I could demonstrate my commitment to self-respect and well-being. Tawwab emphasizes that boundaries are a form of self-care. By protecting our time, energy, and emotions, we create space to nurture ourselves and focus on what truly matters. I began incorporating more self-care into my routine, from setting aside time for hobbies to prioritizing rest. Tawwab's reminder that "no" is a complete sentence helped me let go of the need to over-explain my decisions, freeing up mental and emotional energy. This chapter reminded me that self-care starts with boundaries. By honoring my own needs, I could show up more fully for myself and others. For those with a history of trauma or unhealthy relationships, setting boundaries can be an act of healing. Tawwab explains that boundaries help us reclaim our sense of agency and create safer, healthier connections. I reflected on past experiences where I had ignored my needs to avoid conflict or rejection. Tawwab's encouragement to prioritize my well-being helped me approach these memories with compassion and resolve to do things differently moving forward. This chapter taught me that healing is possible. By setting boundaries, I could break free from old patterns and create relationships that felt safe and supportive. In the final chapter, Tawwab encourages readers to embrace boundaries as an ongoing practice. She emphasizes that maintaining boundaries requires consistency, self-awareness, and a willingness to adapt as circumstances change. I began viewing boundaries not as rigid rules but as dynamic guidelines that evolve with my needs and priorities. Tawwab's reminder to celebrate progress, no matter how small, helped me stay motivated and committed to this practice. This chapter taught me that boundaries are a lifelong journey. By staying mindful and intentional, I could create a life filled with peace, balance, and authenticity. Set boundaries. Find peace taught me that boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges to a healthier, more fulfilling life. By reclaiming my time, energy, and emotional well-being, I found the peace I had been searching for. How can you start setting boundaries today? Remember, every step toward reclaiming yourself is a step toward a more empowered and peaceful life.